You said 86. I ain't gotta go to school. You don't have to. What page we on?
Should have been glued in on page 88.
Oh, this?
That foldable we didn't finish on Friday. So we're on the adding part? Yes. We're on the adding part, the last two problems on the adding. It's gonna be thick. We still got 2 more units after this one to do. It's gonna get really thick.
I came with
That's, this is why I do it, so you can carry it on to math 2 and have something to reference.
this one?
And for those of you that are gonna take the SAT your junior, senior year, if you plan to go to college, some stuff you may forget. Hey,
Guys, enough.
you may forget some of the things. This is a good reference for you to go back and refresh your memory.
Believe it or not, this stuff is on the SAT. It is on the ACT. I reteach this again when I do ACT and SAT prep. It's tutoring for the SAT. Preparation. Okay, so we're putting everything together now. They want us to find the perimeter of each figure. How do I find the perimeter of a triangle?
You add the sides together.
You add the sides together. Well, now my sides are polynomials. I still have to add them together. So I'm going to add negative x squared plus 11x plus 8. And I'm going to add that to 4x squared minus x plus 10. And I'm also going to add that to 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. Okay, so now instead of adding 2, just like you did on your warm-up, when you add 3 polynomials to add together. Okay. That glues in on the next page, so it'll glue in on 89 when we're ready. Okay, so like terms, -1, 4, and 2. Give me what?
5x squared.
5x squared. Okay, be careful. 4 and 2 are positive, so that gives you 6. And then you've got a -1, so it goes back to 5. 11 minus 1 plus 5.
-7.
15x. And positive 8 plus 10 minus 3 plus 15.
I don't know what it's negative 11. It's 15.
Oh, you took that as a negative 11?
Yeah, I thought it was negative 11.
Just the x squared is negative. Okay, that's right, Rayvon. Rayvon said, don't write it unless it says it. Pay attention, TJ. Okay, over here, I have a rhombus. Hey, I have a problem though. They only gave me that the left side is 2x squared minus 6x, and they gave me the bottom is -5x squared plus 10x minus 4.
Left side and right side the same.
How do you know that?
Because they're parallel. They're parallel. Yeah.
They're parallel. That doesn't mean that they're equal, but
you supposed to you can do that, or you can just
take a look at your markings. These markings are here for a reason. So, because this left side is marked with 1 dash and the right side is marked with 1 dash, that tells you that they are the same. Okay. Yes, DJ.
You could just put the ones that you see, you could just put in parentheses and put a 2 on the outside.
You could do that as well. We're not going to do that yet because I haven't taught you that yet, but we'll roll with it. Okay. So, because this one's marked with a 2 And this one up here is marked with the 2. That means this one is negative 5x squared plus 10x minus 4. So this time I have a 4-sided figure, and I have to add all 4 sides together. So we've got negative 5x squared plus 10x minus 4 plus a negative 5x squared plus 10x minus 4. I have a 2x squared minus 6x and a 2x squared minus 6x. Okay, so I got my top and my bottom, my left and my right. Again, combine like terms. So we're going to add all of our x squareds together.
Negative 6. Negative 6.
Okay, good. Negative 6. Negative 5 and negative 5 is negative 10. Plus 2 takes me to negative 8. Plus 2 takes me to negative 6x squared.
I did mine different.
Did you still get negative 6x squared?
Yeah.
Did you multiply by 2? Each one by 2 and then add
Yeah.
them? That's fine. But we're not technically getting to multiplying until the end of this, so I don't want to jump that far. But what you did, Seth, is correct. 10x plus 10x minus 6
8x.
minus 6.
8x.
8x. And negative 4 plus negative 4. Negative 8. Bless you. Bless you. Questions or problems with these two? Nah. All right, let's look at subtracting.
It's cold. Yeah, I got enough too. I'm going first. When we done with this? Ladies first. I asked first. I mean, you will say
Guys,
tell them free.
stop.
I'm from Danielle. Juwan.
TJ. Last chance. Stop. Okay. So, what I'm afraid of with subtraction is the double negatives. Because you guys really have an issue with minus a negative. So, the way that I take care of this is I distribute that negative 3. And I change my sign to addition. Okay, so watch what I do with this first one. So it's supposed to be 7x plus 10.
Miss Smith, I have a question.
Yes.
You know how when it is minus a negative is a positive, right?
Yes.
So when you add a positive, should that be negative?
So when I add a positive, should that be negative?
Like you subtract a negative, you get a positive. So you add a positive, you get a negative. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about.
I really don't. I can't wrap my head around what you're saying right now.
Can you give me a number?
All right, so you know how you got like -1 minus -8.
-1 minus -1 minus a -8. Okay?
That would give you positive 9, right?
No. It gives you positive 7. Because this becomes plus, -1 plus 8 is positive 7.
Okay.
I got
What?
like -1 plus -1 subtract 5.
Write it.
-1 subtract
Oh, plus.
8
Plus
It's gonna be negative.
plus -8. So that's -9.
Does that make sense?
You're at -1 and you're adding 8 in the negative direction.
So you're gonna keep going.
So, right, so you're already at -1 and you're going 8 in the negative direction. Here, you're at -1 and you're going 8 in the positive direction. Because that negative disappears when I subtract it. All right. So, all right. I'm gonna need Rico to switch with Andrew. No, I'm done. I'm done. The three of you together are awful and I'm done. Y'all have not stopped talking. So Rico and Andrew, I'm gonna need you to switch. And Rashawn, I'm gonna put you up here with the girls.
Put me there, please.
Keep on TJ there with the girls.
Put me there. I want you to sit here.
You know what I mean?
Quickly, so I can continue.
You won't move me. Like Christian was
But what? Even if I did, I can't do anything. I do. That's my job. Gentlemen, quickly, or I will just have you removed, period. Because you are now holding up my entire class. Okay,
I know where to sit. Somebody can.
there is a whole chair right there. You can be, Alexis, please move your stuff. Thank you.
I can't see the guy move.
Go ahead. Come right here. Let me get Andrew.
No. I know why you want to go over there. No.
I don't give a damn where you put.
Okay, then sit there and stop. Okay. So, in order to make sure that you do not miss the minus and negative, my suggestion to you is to change this to addition. When you change your subtraction sign to addition, everything that's in the parentheses after the subtraction needs to change signs. So, what I mean by that is I'm going to change this to a plus, which means my +3 is now going to be -3. And my -8 is now going to be positive. So now you add, and you don't have to worry about that double negative because that's where kids go wrong. I still make that mistake. If you forget that you're subtracting, you do addition, which messes you up. So this is my suggestion to you. Anytime you have subtraction, change your subtraction to addition, change all the signs in the parentheses after that. So now, we have 7x plus 10 and -3x plus 8. And now we can just add and we don't have to worry about double negatives.
That 3x turns to negative?
Yes, when I change my minus sign to addition, I have to change the sign of everything in the parentheses.
Oh.
So if it was already positive, I change it negative.
Well, that's what she said in the beginning, so she took that minus and then.
And there's a minus out front.
And then changed.
You only
everything.
change the parentheses after it. You don't change the parentheses before it. So when you change this sign, this is before it. You only have to do after. You only have to do everything after that sign that you change. Nothing before it. Okay? So now, 7x minus 3x becomes 4x.
4x.
And 10 plus 8 is
18.
done. That's it. You're finished.
So Miss Smith,
Yes.
in the next one, the positive bar will turn to a negative.
Yes. So TJ says in the next one, when I change the subtraction to addition, my negative 2x is now a positive, and my positive 5 is now a negative. What about what? Nothing that comes before that matters. You don't change anything that comes before what you're changing. So you only change the parentheses that come after. Because technically what you're doing, think about it this way. If I gave you this problem, and I told you to simplify this, what would you do with this negative? You would distribute it. So that's what you're doing here. Negative times a negative makes your 2x positive, and then negative times a positive makes this a.
So, Miss Flip, instead of making my mind think that I gotta change it, I can just make my mind think that it's going to different properties.
That's what you're doing, yeah.
Okay. So you
All you're doing is multiplying everything by that negative. You're distributing that negative through.
so I'm just making that negative one.
Mm-hmm. So now we've got negative 14x plus 3, and we've got a positive 2x minus 5. So negative 12x minus 2.
Hold on, wait.
I'm waiting.
Oh yeah, so what's our reason of moving over there? Well, I really want to know, what's our reason of moving over there?
Ravon, we're not talking about this right now. I have a class to teach.
I feel played.
Yes.
Go back.
Huh?
You can go back something all day.
You can get up and get your book back. Okay, so if we want to look at it like we're distributing, that's fine. So we need to take this negative and I need to distribute it through. So I'm taking this negative and multiplying it against a positive. So this becomes negative 2x squared. A negative times a negative makes us a positive 2x. And a negative times a negative makes us a positive 9. Okay, so that's why all of your signs change. And now instead of subtracting, I'm adding. So I can now add 5x squared. I can add 3x, and I can add 8. Good. Sabi says positive 3x squared plus 5x plus 17. Okay.
So, Ms. Smith,
Yes.
everything in the first parentheses stay the same?
Yes.
All right.
Unless there's something out there that needs to be distributed through, which there is not. Okay. So this one, we distribute through the negative. So positive 7 becomes negative 7x cubed. This becomes negative 2x. Notice I left a spot in between the x cubed and the x. Why did I leave that spot?
Because there is no, on the other one, there is, I don't know.
No, you're right.
There is no S squared.
There's no x squared. So there is an x squared in the first one, so I need to leave a placeholder for me to put it. So I left some space. And when I distribute the negative to the positive 6, becomes negative 6. So now when I add in this first part, I get 4x cubed plus x squared minus 9x minus 8. Leaving that spot, I was now able to put that negative 9 underneath the negative 2. Okay, so I heard negative 3x cubed. What happens to my x squared? Just drop it down. Negative 11x and negative 14. Good job. If you take your time to concentrate, a lot of you are smart.
Distribute the -7.
Okay. No, you're right. Okay. So Andrew looked at the next one and said, oh, well, there's a -7 out front of the first one and a -5 outside of the second one. So I need to distribute both through. So my first one, I'm multiplying everything by -7. So -14, x to the 4th, because that's -7 times a positive 2.
21.
-21, x cubed. Leave yourself a spot because we don't have an x squared. So -7x and positive 7. Okay. Are we good with that first one?
I got a question.
Yes. Do you have a question, McKenna? You just stretch yourself.
You dropped something.
Okay. This second one, we have to make sure that we're putting it where it belongs. So, -5 gets distributed to a -3. Positive 15x cubed. So make sure that you put it under x cubed. -5 times a positive 4. -20x squared. That goes in my gap there because I don't have an x squared in the first one. -40x. And then you said positive 30. And now we add. So -14 x cubed, or x to the 4th. -6 x cubed. -20x squared. -47x plus 37. Woo, buddy. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen this all over your release test. This is going to come back to haunt you for your EOC. Make sure that you can do this.
I got a question.
Yes.
Did I have an equation we had divide, like divide equation?
So you are not going to have to do that. That will come about in Math 3. So Seth's question was, is there ever a point where we have to divide a polynomial by a polynomial? Yes. That comes back to haunt you in Math 3. Okay, so all we do in Math 1 is add, subtract, and multiply. You will divide polynomials in Math 3.
Divide.
Yes, you will divide. All right, let's look at this one. It says, if the perimeter of the quadrilateral is shown below, what is the length of the missing side? So they give me the perimeter. They give me 3 sides. I need to find the other side.
I know what you gotta do.
So CJ, what do you think I have to do?
You start with 29x plus 5, and then you subtract each one of the sides until you end one side, and then the answer is the left side.
Okay, so what TJ's saying is I should take the total, subtract off each side, and that'll give me the rest of the sides.
Yes.
Okay, easier than just doing that. I would add your other 3 sides together first and then subtract. So you're only doing 1 round of subtraction instead of 3. Okay, so I would start with, well, let's see what the perimeter is. If I have 5x plus 3, 8x minus 4, and 10x plus 7. What does that give me total? 18, 19, not 24. 23x.
And 6
Plus 3.
6.
Plus 6. Okay, so.
But we're subtracting.
Oh, Gusto, did you listen to anything that I just got done saying? Instead of subtracting all 3, it's easier to add them together and then subtract.
The answer would be 6x minus 1.
Good. Okay, so
I guess.
we can go ahead and subtract, or it might even be easy to just look at this. How do I get from 23x to 29x? Add what?
6.
Add 6x. How do I get from 6 to 5?
Wait, 1.
Subtract 1. And that gives me 29x plus 5. So this is your missing side right here, 6x minus 1.
Go. I kind of guessed it too. Miss F.
Yes.
Are we doing page 89?
Yes. All right. Okay. I need you to not freak out when I change from Y to function notation. Okay? It doesn't change what you're going to do. It just tells you that this is the function that I want you to use. So, it wants me to take f of x, and it wants me to subtract h of x. So, all we're doing is I'm going to replace f of x with this. So, f of x is 9x squared minus 4x plus 2. Minus. This should be page 89.
That'd be 2x squared plus 3x minus 10. 11x squared.
Guys, y'all were told to glue this in on Friday.
I did glue it in. On 88.
Minus.
Right here.
Okay, go ahead.
Alright, you see F.
Right. Which one are we on? We're not even paying attention.
You put -2 to the second power, then you put plus 3x, then minus 10, then.
All right.
Then you
Negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 10. So,
Alright, and then
okay, stop. I need to make sure the rest of the class is where we are. If you're good, rock it out and see if your answer comes out right. Go. All right, go ahead. Let's see if your answer matches mine when you're done. Okay. So,
And then for the second one, you add fx and gx. And that's where you get your answer from.
Okay, so at this point, all I'm doing is replacing f of x with the equation that it's giving me for f of x. I'm replacing h of x with the equation that it gave me for h of x, and I'm subtracting the two. So now, because it's subtraction, let's distribute that negative through. So, negative times a negative makes this positive. Negative times a positive makes this a.
Negative.
And negative times a negative makes this a. So now I add that to the first one. 11x squared minus 7x plus 12. Okay. The next one. They want us to find the sum. What does it mean to find the sum?
Add it together.
We're adding them this time. So they want us to take the expression for f of x. So 9x squared minus 4x plus 2. And they want me to add it to g of x, which is 3x minus 1. So I'm going to add 3x to my negative 4x, and I'm going to subtract 1 from my 2. So Justo says we have 9x squared minus x plus 1. Okay, so all function notation tells you is what function am I using?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yes, you could have left the minus 1. Just understand that on your final exam, they're not going to give you that 1 there. It's going to be fine.
I didn't understand what that F, and X mean, G, X mean. Those are the next one.
Which tells you right now that it's going to be on your test at the end of the year.
We're taking a test in a little bit.
So, do we take EOGs here?
No,
She said tomorrow's testing week or something.
They don't call it end of grade. They call it end of course. It's an EOC.
And that's at the end of this course?
Yes, in December you will take the EOC. Because it's not at the end of 9th grade. You're no longer getting tests for the entire school year. You're getting a test for the entire class. And your classes are semester long at the high school. So instead of calling it an end of grade, they call it an end of course.
It's still the same thing. It's still the same thing.
It's basically the same thing. It's just they changed it to an EOC.
You take an EOC for every class.
Let's say that
No.
You don't?
You take NCFEs for some of them. We have to get through this and then I'll explain all that. All right. This bottom one. Do not get confused with this bottom one. What do they want us to do here?
Subtract and multiply.
They want us to subtract. That's it. You're not multiplying. So I can write it like this, or I can write it like this. They mean the same thing.
They said one like that the first time. That's gonna mess me up.
They mean the same thing. They can interchange them. That's exactly what that means. They want us to take f of x and they want to subtract g of x. So again, my f of x is 9x squared minus 4x plus 2 minus my g of x, which is 3x minus 1. So I need to distribute by negative. That'll be negative 3x and plus 1. And then we put 9x squared minus 4x plus 2. And add them together. So 9x squared, negative 7x, good, Sabi, plus 3. Sabi's kicking butt over there. You go, girl. Okay. Before we jump into the next part, I'm gonna start. But Amora, you may go, and Rayvon, you may go. They asked, did TJ ask before you? I lied. Amora, you may go, TJ, you may go. When TJ comes back, Rayvon, you may go. When Amora comes back, you may go. Okay. Oops.
Blow it up.
That boy said, "Can I use the refrigerator?"
I'm gonna use the next.
You that's what it's here for. Because when Miss Smith got to go, coming with me. Okay. All right. So this is the last piece that we need to talk about. This is the last piece we need to talk about. We need to go back over those laws of exponents that we talked about before. If I multiply, yes, it's the one we just stapled today. This will go, yes, this will glue in on page 90 when we're finished. Okay. Guys, we need to get through this so you have time to start your stuff today. The less time we have, the more homework you have tonight. Okay. Remember, laws of exponents. We talked about a product property. And it said, if I multiply two things with the same base, we add my exponents. So, if I have my bases are A's, I add my exponents. So this becomes A to the M plus N. That's my rule. I add my exponents when I multiply. So if I multiply x to the 4th times x to the 6th, it becomes x to the 10th. You're not going to need it that bad. It's not that bad. These are not that high in numbers. Jorge, y'all right there, friend?
Yeah, but you trying to steal some candy from mine, but man. I'm getting it. She was back here swallowing Slim Jims.
All right.
She's like,
All right. So let's take a look at example 1. So we are multiplying through all of this. These two are an example of a monomial times a monomial. Okay. Remember, a monomial is a polynomial with one term. So when I multiply my numbers first. What's 4 times 6? 24. Okay. When I multiply the terms and the variables with the same base. So I multiply r cubed times r to the 5th, r to the 8th. I multiply s to the 4th and s to the 6th, s to the 10th. That's it. That's it.
I have a question though.
Yes.
See the 4R and 6R, like, you just multiply the numbers, but when it comes to the R3, you add
the exponents. Yes, you multiply the coefficients, you add the exponents. Okay, so let's go down to example 2. I'm multiplying my coefficients, 9 and -2. Negative 18. Don't lose that negative. We're multiplying x squared and x to the 3rd. X to the 5th. Good. I'm multiplying y and y. Y squared. What happens to my z? You just leave it alone. There's nothing to multiply with it, so you leave it alone. Not too bad, right?
Wait a minute.
All right. Andrew, why is it no matter where I move you, you just cannot stop talking?
I gotta make new friends.
I'm telling you, if you move him here, he won't talk. You see me, don't you?
You gotta talk to
I'm
yourself.
gonna stay here.
When they gonna bring him?
I'm just gonna put him on the hall and he can watch the class from
But it's not even me only though.
Stop talking. You're driving me crazy. Bananas. All right. This time, I'm multiplying a monomial times a polynomial. Or a monomial, technically, times a binomial in this case. Okay? So, we distribute when I multiply. So, I take 3m times 5m squared.
15m squared.
I agree with 15, but m to the what?
Wait.
Cubed.
Yeah.
Remember, you multiply the coefficients and you add your exponents. So m has an exponent of 1 if it's not written, and 1 plus 2 gives me 3.
Would that be 6 squared?
6m squared. Remember, Husto, if there's not an exponent written, that means there's an exponent of 1 on both of these ends. So when I multiply, m times m squared is m cubed, because you have 1 plus 2.
No, the only thing that messed me up was I thought you might have done 5 and 2 had 1.
Okay? Example 4. 7g times g squared. 7g cubed. 7g times 5g. 35 g squared. And 7g times negative 3. Negative 21g.
Square.
Hold on, let me get this before you switch.
Oh, it's not square. It's one.
Okay, I'm pausing here. Okay, so these ones are pretty simple because there's only one variable. The last two examples, I'm now throwing in more than one variable. So not only do you have to multiply your coefficients, you have to multiply each variable separately.
You need a soup?
I'm just gonna take a vote.
I mean, I gotta go.
Amen. Amen, friend. Amen.
Them dirty toilet.
I mean, that's what tissue for.
Oh God, you gotta put toilet paper around me. That's how you be catching stuff.
Oh no.
All right. All right.
Are we on this right here?
Yes. Okay, back up here. Stop.
It's not even me this time.
I know. All right. So with these ones, now instead of just having one variable, I have multiple. So we have to take it one piece at a time. So when I multiply my first term against my monomial, negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. Okay. Stop. Please answer what I'm asking because you are now confusing everyone else in this classroom. I don't care if you've got it. I need to take it step by step for everybody else. So please listen to what I'm asking and answer only those questions or just don't answer. It's okay to understand what's happening and go with it. But I need you to stop and be respectful of everybody else that's lost. So negative 5 times 3 gave me negative 15. Then I multiply my a's. A squared times a to the 4th.
A to the 6.
A to the 6th. B times b to the 3rd.
B to the 4th.
B to the 4th. Okay, now I multiply that times the second term. So negative 5 times 6, negative 30. A squared times a squared, a to the 4th, and b times b to the 3rd, b to the 4th. Okay, are we okay with that one? Yes, Xavier.
Why can't we just be on the first one?
I need help with like the first four problems.
She be right there and.
I don't understand it.
Wait, you said what now, Xavier?
Oh, no, I see.
You good?
Yeah, I know.
You're fine. Okay, let's look at 6. I'm multiplying negative 5y cubed with y squared. Negative 5y to the 5th, because y cubed times y squared is y to the 5th. Negative 5y cubed times positive 6y.
Negative 30.
Negative 30y to the 4th. And negative 5y cubed times negative 8. Positive 40y to the 3rd. Or cubed. Okay. Did I glue this in?
Hey, Miss Smith, why y'all spray like that?
Glue foil.
What?
Oh, we're not gluing foil anywhere.
Why not?
So you can spread it.
Miss Smith, why y'all spray, bro?
All right. So the last thing we need to talk about, what happens if I have a binomial and a binomial? They want us to do something called FOIL. What does that mean?
Combine.
Like tinfoil.
Distribute.
What does FOIL stand for?
Crumble.
F stands for functions.
No,
O stands for oval.
no.
Fix. All. Old. Intermission. Linear.
How about first,
First. Occult.
outer,
Intellectual.
inner,
Linear.
Linear.
last?
Last.
Okay, so we are going to do something called FOIL. That stands for first, outer, inner, last. That tells you how we multiply. First, outer, inner, last. This will be the hardest of the multiplying. All right. First, outer, inner, last. Okay. Here's your problem. X plus 2 times x plus 5. We need to multiply our first terms. So,
2x.
your first terms are x times x.
2x.
X squared. Okay. We need to multiply our outer terms. So that's x times 5. They're the ones on the outside.
5x.
So that's 5x. We need to multiply our inner terms, which is 2 and x.
2x.
And we multiply our last terms, which is 2 and 5.
10. Math is so complicated for what though?
Okay. There's one more step when we FOIL.
Combine.
Combine like terms. So I have 5x and 2x,
7x.
which becomes 7x. So my answer is actually x squared plus 7x plus 10. No, my favorite is I don't get it, but I won't come for tutoring.
Who said that?
Oh. I do come.
When?
I get what's up.
Without a book bag, because you were looking for your book bag. No.
You can't count.
Okay. First terms. 3a times a.
4. 3A. 3A.
3a squared.
I didn't say it. I said bulls.
Okay. Yes.
So keep the 3, but
Because it's 3 times 1.
See, dumb questions.
Stop. It's not a dumb question.
Is it?
Remember, when there is nothing written there, there's always an unwritten 1 for a coefficient and an unwritten 1 for an exponent. So technically you're taking 3 times 1, which gives you 3, and then a to the first times a to the first, which becomes a to the second.
so because there's 2 A's, it doesn't count the second.
What do you mean it doesn't become
See?
a-
Look, there's 2 A's, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's A to second.
Yes.
So it's, never mind.
She doesn't even
A to the
solve the
second,
problem.
because you put 1 with the other A in there.
It's 2 A's.
So then you got 2 A's.
There's always
And you
a
have
one
one.
for every
So because it's 2 B's, it would be B to the second?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. Okay, so
Are we gonna use this in real life?
I mean, it's
No, I'm talking about not in school though.
But this is real life, right?
Yeah.
I didn't go need this when you going to McDonald's.
If you're a crash register, you gonna use it.
And Crasher.
At
Crash register. You don't need all the A's and B's and G's.
I was gonna say.
people need to go back to English class though.
I crashed.
Crash register.
Yes. Crash register.
Okay, so that's my first. My outer. You are gonna have so much homework tonight because not only do you have to finish that assignment that you did not finish because we didn't get through the subtraction, I also have a multiplying, adding, and subtracting one that is due tomorrow as well. So, again, you want to continue to waste class time, I will gladly sit here and wait for you to finish your conversations because apparently it's more important than graduating from high school. You need to pass this class, you need to pass this exam, or else you do not move on to Math 2. Not only do you have to pass my class, you have to pass my exam with a 3 or better. Or you do not pass this class, no matter if your grade's a 98 when you walk into your final, it doesn't matter. You failed this final, and it's on you.
When is it?
You have 25 days until final exams.
That's one day.
25 days to get your lives together.
Who just said it's at 5 weeks?
Technically, it's 6 with we've got a 4-day week next week and then a 2-day week over Thanksgiving, and
Oh, I thought you just meant by school.
that is 25 school days. So technically 5 weeks, yes, but it's gonna be over a total of 6 weeks because we've got shortened weeks for some of them. We have a 3-day weekend this weekend.
So
So they only come- Yeah, we only come Tuesday.
We don't come back until Tuesday after Friday, yes. You have Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. Okay.
Crazy,
Wait,
boy.
next month is better.
Yes.
She said-
Okay. Okay. When I multiply my outside terms, that means I want the ones on the outside of my binomials. So that means I'm multiplying 3a times negative 2b. So 3 times negative 2 gives me negative 6. And because I'm multiplying a and b, you can't do anything. They're not the same base. So this is actually negative 6 a b. You can't do anything with them. They're not the same base. One is an a, one is a b. Okay? When I multiply my inside terms, that's these two on the inside of my binomials. So that's b times a. I would put AB. I would always put it in alphabetical order. And then finally, my last term. So that's my second term times my second term. So that's B times negative 2B, which becomes negative 2B squared. Okay. Just like you did with the last one, we have like terms again. I've got a negative 6AB and a positive 1AB, which becomes negative 5AB. 3A squared comes down, negative 2B squared comes down, and we are finished. Okay, this last one, first terms, D times D is D squared. Outer terms, so D times negative 5 is negative 5D. Inner terms, so 5 times D is a positive 5D. And then finally, my last terms, 5 times a negative 5 is negative 25.
Quick question.
Yes.
Does negative always come first or positive?
Would it be D squared minus 25?
Yes, TJ. Are you talking about the order that these come in?
Yeah.
It's going to depend on your outer, your inner,
Oh.
whether you're multiplying by a positive or a negative. So TJ said when I do this and combine like terms, negative 5D and positive 5D cancel out. So I'm left with D squared minus 25. And we'll actually talk about this again a little bit later. This is called a difference of two squares. And it is a special polynomial. Okay. This blue's in on page 90 in your notebooks.
Tomorrow's birthday, right?